What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. I don't know if I could say happy Monday. Crypto markets have been taking a big hit today, but that usually does mean that it's a better time to load up on some of our higher conviction plays. We're going to be joined by Steven Steele, part of the MAGA meme coin, aka the Trump token, the number one political finance token uh, project in the entire space, really the token that started this entire political finance sector. Let me go ahead real quick, Steven, before we get started. I'm having trouble bringing up our co-host, Soka. Uh, Twitter is having some errors. I invited him. Okay, he's up here as well. So, first off, Stephen, it's a pleasure to have you here. I've been following your work for quite some time in terms of political finance and MAGA meme coin. I think I remember when they signed you. I got into Trump like very early. I think it was around a $8 to $10 million market cap, and this was before any political finance tokens really started. There was obviously Trump tokens back in 2022, 2023. Nothing turned out. And I remember I made my video on Trump, and I was kind of like hesitant in the video. I was like, this could do well, this couldn't do. And then what the MAGA meme coin team did since that time in January was, I mean, it was absolutely mind blowing. And I see that the MAGA meme coin token is in here as well. I believe the dev goes by the name of the president. The guy is a G. He's given back probably close to $2 million in charity right now, to veteran operated charity. So I'm very honored that you guys would come on here. Before we get to Steven, let me throw it to my co-host Soka Data just to give a quick introduction. And yeah, it's going to be a great space, guys. So if you haven't yet, make sure to retweet the room, drop some comments, and we're going to have a really, really good political finance space with the number one political finance in the token in the world, which is MAGA meme coin.
Yo, Jake, thanks for that fire. Thanks for the introduction. I am super excited about today because one thing that we've been trying to do on this show, as we know, Jake opened up this space. I know it's weird because the space is in space, but he opened up this space for us to really identify key projects going forward. And usually it's a lot of projects sitting to come up here and chill and give us some ideas of, where we could potentially spend our money. But we also have been really pioneering the tracking of Politify projects. And MAGA meme coin, as Jake said, is the pioneer in the entire space. So having Steven Steele up here alongside Jake and UK Crypto Queen and myself is a massive, massive opportunity for us to understand where Politify is going. And honestly, yeah, it's not a happy Monday because everyone's bags are down, but there's no better time to load up on projects and conviction plays than when the market is bloody. So I'm very excited. You guys might not know this, but I actually did some prep work. I don't always prep. Sometimes I just fire up the thing, fire up the stream, and we talk. But I did a lot of prep work because I know MAGA meme coin is going to bring the heat. And so we got a lot of questions for him today. I cannot wait to talk to him. UK Crypto Queen, how's it going?
And Soka, my prep work was
Oh
just
yeah.
covering it the past 5 months. So I think
Oh,
I think I
oh,
was right
good.
around a lot of my things, like probably close to around $2 million. They partnered with Roger Stone. This is going to be an action packed, dude. I'm going to my fridge right now. I'm grabbing a Celsius with, for those that aren't in America, it's like a Red Bull or Monster, and I'm dialed in all space. So UK Crypto Queen, then we'll give an intro to Steven Steele and MAGA Meme Coin. The official account. If you want to co-host, I just sent you the link. If you want to have your page up here, that way people can click on it as we go on. It's all yours. So UK Crypto Queen, then we'll go to Steven.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jake, and thank you, Soka, for putting on this space. Thank you. Great. Looking forward to hearing from Stephen. I mean, what a day of all days. I mean, this is a good day to be on a space like this and just getting all the alpha. So yeah, looking forward to what's to come.
All right, well, let's do it. Well, Stephen, this is our first time meeting. I've joined a couple of your spaces, seen you working with the project for, I mean, probably since like February or March, if I'm not correct. But pleasure to have you on here, brother. Thanks for joining us.
Right on. Can you hear me okay, firstly?
Yep, all
Okay,
good.
cool. Just making sure I got some new headphones. Yeah, it's great to be here, Jake. Great to finally connect with you here in this space. And I know you've been covering the project for quite a bit. You've been covering the project for quite a bit, and I give you a lot of credit for that because most major calls in the space ignored the project, um, and never really got on board or really got what we were doing. But a few folks that really were paying attention and kind of understood the vision from the close to the beginning. I give a lot of kudos to. So I mean, look, I think this is actually kind of a silver lining to have this space in the wake of what's transpired over market conditions, particularly over the last 36 hours, because it really gives us a chance to um, look at what's going on. And it really gives us the chance to kind of more deep dive into why these things are happening. And more importantly, where this positions a project like MAGA Memecoin going in the future and all of Polyfi, really. So I think that makes for a more interesting conversation, really.
Absolutely. And I'm going to pin up some tweets here from Trump because our boy Trump was tweeting. He called this the Kamala crash, and he also put up a tweet saying he was just saying that this is in part due for Kamala, and it doesn't really matter what side of the aisle you're on. I mean, a lot of people would probably agree that in 2016 and 2020 there was less wars, right? I mean, there was zero wars, and a lot of that was because Trump made Iran broke. And now they have a lot of money. I think Joe Biden gave them $6 billion for the release of hostages, which, I mean, of course, you want our hostages back, but $6 billion is a lot of money. And then obviously, the tensions here in Israel as well. I mean, like right now, I really do believe one of the reasons the markets are crashing is because of the tensions in Israel, right? Everyone's waiting on what Iran is going to do. Are they going to strike? When are they going to strike? None of that happens if Iran is broke. So it could technically now look. I'm not going to say it's Kamala's fault, but it is a failure from the Biden administration. And I'd love to take this to Ahsoka. I also do believe that the uncertainty with the presidential race. I mean, 3 weeks ago, Trump was. I mean, I would have said 100% chance of winning or 99%. And then what happens? They asked Joe Biden, "Hey Joe, how would you ever drop out of the presidential race if I ever got sick?" Well, 3 hours later, he gets COVID. He disappears for 5 days. He comes back about 6 inches taller. Kamala gets put in as the Democratic nominee without any person, any Democrat in the world voting for her. And now she's like, if you look at the news, she's favored. She's winning polls. And honestly, I don't trust any polls that are going on. But I want to ask you this, Soka. What are your thoughts on that? That also, along with what's going on in Japan, along with Iran and Israel, that probably the uncertainty in the U.S. presidential elections is probably causing some concern in the crypto space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely wanted to, I've got some notes here. And so I'm going to be able to talk through all these things, Jake. And first of all, anyone who is in here listening to Jake speak, I mean, one of the things I've been most impressed with is his passion and understanding for politics. Because there's a lot of people out there who just kind of say stuff. It's just random. It's just gibberish. And like, it's like your uncle at Thanksgiving. It doesn't make sense, right? But Jake is definitely grounded. And my take on politics, I've been in politics, for those of you who don't know, I helped run debate prep and data and analytics for parties from both sides, but some pretty big campaigns. Rand Paul, Tim Scott, Tom Cotton, et cetera, mainly on the Republican side. And so I take a very nuanced approach to politics. And so what Jake brings up is a lot of very important topics. Some of it makes a lot of sense, right? Biden was not going to win this election. They did a lot of data. They have smart people there on both sides. And they polled and they found he is going to lose. It's very likely, at least. And I do not believe the polling. I'm not necessarily tinfoil hat on polling, but I think that there's a big difference between people being excited about something new and fresh entering the space and actually putting a vote down on a ballot or putting a donation down. And a lot of the donations that have come through for Kamala have been for people who are already heavily leaning to the left, right? And so what I think is happening is you're getting to see a lot of energy in that voter base, but that's not where the voter base, that's not where this election is won or lost. The election is going to be won and lost on independent voters who are concerned about topics like immigration, cryptocurrency, some culture war topics like trans rights, etc. And that's going to be happening in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, potentially. Florida's obviously always, I don't even know, that might be leaning a little bit heavier right lately, but I don't think that I believe I trust betting markets, and betting markets still have Trump around 70%. That's where people are actually having to put money on who they think is going to win. And before Biden dropped out, it was more around 65. So they actually leaned a little bit heavier into Trump since Biden has dropped out. So I think that that's my overall take on Kamala Harris and kind of what you're seeing. I wouldn't be too distracted by some of this energy. Let things settle in a little bit. Let people actually hear her speak, and then see where it shakes out. My immediate answer is it seems like it's still bullish for Trump in general, because I think that he's teased around 5 points in betting markets on the political side. There's a few other things you touched on, but I want to definitely throw it back to you with that, outline of what I just described. And maybe if Stephen wanted to jump in as well, because I have comments on Japan, markets all over the place. We have it all today. This is going to be jam packed.
Yeah, one quick thing we'll throw to Stephen. Yeah, I agree with you. It's like, how does someone go from being the worst vice president in history to 3 weeks later being the god that's going to save us all? It's like, I don't even think she's done an interview since she's, been nominated by the Democratic Party. So I agree with you. Once the honeymoon phase is over, I think we'll be all back to business. But yeah, would love to hear what Stephen has to say on that.
Well, I'm very dubious of a lot of the polling results that have transpired since the DNC appointed Kamala as the leader of the Democrat Party. Um, do we really put it past these outlets to coordinate and fabricate a narrative? Yeah, I remember Newsweek put out an article in the wake of Donald Trump's apparent loss in 2020, and it gave a pretty detailed account, bragging about how even they played an intensive role along with the rest of the corporate media to subvert his campaign. And they even, admitted to many dubious kind of strategies in doing so. It was a remarkable article in terms of its candidness. So it really wouldn't surprise me at all if many of the initial polling regarding Kamala is completely fabricated and coordinated in such a way to kind of create that certain narrative. I think we can also attribute some of the market stumbling here uh, to those polls. I think some folks have been getting kind of irked at the possibility anyway of a Kamala victory, and I think that's played a role on what's going on with the markets as well. So I think that speaks for itself in terms of how people that are involved in markets feel about this administration. Um, and look, one of the largest Japanese investment firms, Jump Trading, sold all their ETH since and started the ETF backstop with the yen crashing. There's so many things happening simultaneously here. None of it bodes well for Kamala Harris, mind you. So I think one of the silver linings that we are seeing here is that I, this really positions Trump even more in a position of favorability. When you look at electoral history, anytime you have some rocky markets like this, the incumbent loses the overwhelming majority of the time. I think it's 80 to 90%. So I think this positions Trump brilliantly going into the final legs here of the general election cycle. And he should exploit that as much as much as he can. I think that his team already is doing that, and he absolutely should. He absolutely should. The absolute, pardon my French, clusterfuck that has been bestowed upon this nation under the Biden-Harris administration is absolutely unprecedented. And the amount of distraction and the complete lack of empathy from their supporters right now and the Democrat Party in general, as all of us are experiencing the fallout from their reign, I think will ultimately be their Achilles heel.
Agreed. Can we also talk about the censorship? I mean, it's like in broad daylight, If I Google Donald Trump, it just shows me all good shit about Kamala. If I Google Trump assassination, it takes me to Donald Trump assassination takes me to Donald Duck assassination. Like the censorship thing is real too, and I think it needs to be discussed because it's happening in plain sight. In plain sight. Like, and they really have like shadow banned. I forget the actual term, but they pretty much shadow banned anything about like the dude got shot in the ear 3 weeks ago, and that's gone. No one's talking about that. He literally was shot in the ear 3 weeks ago. No one is talking about that. Everything is just focused on how great Kamala is, and she's got who does she have? Megan the Stallion twerking at a rally. It's like I don't know what's going on, boys. It's kind of crazy.
So I think that I have a real quick, Stephen. I had a comment on that I think ties both of these together. What drives clicks and engagement in the world? And the mainstream media knows this perfectly. They understand all of this. It's going to be a close race. It is a blowout doesn't drive engagement. They can't get people fired up about a blowout. So I think that, of course, Stephen said, hey, look, Are they kind of getting some polls out there, writing some headlines that make it seem closer than it is? I think, yeah, absolutely. Because they know that if every headline is Trump blows out Kamala, well, how are they going to get their clicks? How are they going to get their engagement? They have to make it seem like, and I'm not saying it's a good thing or bad. I'm just saying that's for sure happening because they want to drive that engagement. That's how they make their money. They love, as much as CNN can say, hey, you watch what they have and they hate Trump, et cetera. They would love it if he got elected again because they made way more money when Trump was in office than they did when Biden was in office. So I think that that's what's driving the mainstream media right now is they need to keep this race close or else they're going to lose interest already. It's August. They can't lose interest now. They've got too many months. Steven, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that's a totally valid point to make. They kind of they loved it. They love to hate Trump because well, I believe that they genuinely do hate Trump and everything he stands for in their heart of hearts, particularly um, as his agenda is not very beneficial for their bottom lines in terms of who their sponsors are, right? The military industrial complex and big pharma. But in terms of ratings, he's an absolute boost. So it's a real interesting dynamic there. It's a real interesting dynamic, and definitely a valid point to bring up in that regard. I mean, this is just so this is so absurd. I have never seen this level of gaslighting in American politics, and I know that term gets thrown around a lot, and I think it gets thrown around way too loosely these days. But this truly is some next level shit in terms of gaslighting goes. I think every single person listening to the space right now has felt the brunt of this economy in very, very, very real ways, in very firsthand ways that have significantly impacted their quality of lives. If you're listening from America anyway, in terms of groceries, utilities, gas, uh, everything. I also own a small business. All my operation costs, all of these things have gone up exponentially. Uh, what we're making continues to go down, and now this latest market crash is just another symbol of that reign of absolute incompetency and that the American people are feeling the brunt for. Disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, well said. I think I've been pretty open about my political views here. Again, I don't mind. Anyone can do whatever they want. They can believe either side. This is an open space to have these discussions. I'm a fairly strong and strict libertarian, and so there's many people who will throw that around and then get a little squeamish when it comes to making some decisions and some conversations that are outside of libertarian bounds. And so gaslighting for sure is happening right now. Whenever I hear that, trust me, I'm not taking anything away from what you say. The Iraq war always sits deep in my blood because it is so against my libertarian ideals. And there was a lot of gaslighting that happened there as well. So, but I think overall your point is well taken. Look, at the end of the day, we all know some of the main things that drive an election and election results, right? It's going to be, you already mentioned some of it, economy. The economy, if it's bad, it doesn't go for the incumbent. And whatever they will say, one of the funniest thing to me is I read a lot of these articles and it's like, weak jobs report is a catalyst for this market sell off. These jobs reports are so stuffed with absolute junk. I mean, every time the jobs report is allegedly exceeding and it's counting jobs that it shouldn't, but they're really just there to kind of keep the wool over the people's eyes. So like these jobs reports are absolutely irrelevant. If you're looking at jobs reports to try to figure out, is the market going up or is it going down? I'm telling you, those are highly manipulated. If you ever see the adjustments after the initial report goes out, I'm sure Steve and Jake, both you guys know about this, but like the report goes out, hey, we added 250,000 jobs. Then there's a revised report that gets slipped in there, a month or two later, and it's, oh, that 250,000 jobs. Let me rephrase, negative 150,000. And so the reason I bring that up is because they can try to put as much lipstick on this pig as they want. But if we're making less money and everything is this more expensive, the people aren't going to be tricked into thinking that they're doing better than they were. They're going to just say, hey, it cost me $120 to fill up my car. And they're going to vote accordingly. Jake, what are your thoughts on some of that where they're really trying to like force this idea that everything's great when the reality that we're actually experiencing is much different?
Everything is not great. I mean, I just moved from California to Florida. Uh, One of the reasons was rising prices. I mean, gas was $6 a gallon. Crime was through the roof. It wasn't safe to go out in LA, San Francisco, or San Diego anymore. Uh, Everything is far from great in America. And I say that while also saying that it's the greatest place to live in the world. I really do believe so. But the last 4 years have been everything but great. I posted a photo that I think Donald Trump posted, and it went through the Biden Harris uh, records and like what they've done. 15 million illegals let into the country, crime through the roof, record unemployment, inflation through the roof. Like nothing has been great the past 4 years, and we still, thankfully, live in the greatest place in the world. But I don't know if America will survive or even be the same place if we get 4 more years of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jake, I think it's even a lot more than that. I think it's even a lot more than 15, 16 million. That's just for what our current level of border security is counting for. And I agree with President Trump's assessment that it's likely much higher. And that is one of the main things that we should never let these people live down, in my opinion. And we are seeing so many just trite, really distractions from that side as we're going into headed into the fall here. Talks about they would love to have this entire election just be only about abortion and Trump's character, and this sort of thing. And this is just so asinine and ridiculous when you consider that the Biden Harris administration have intentionally, mind you, I want everyone just to really digest this. They have intentionally given us the worst migrant crisis in American history. Trump has a strong record of border security. He's vowing mass deportations of illegal immigrants. Everything else compared to issues like that are just a distraction, So they have purposely reigned over the worst migrant crisis in American history. The ramifications of this, we haven't even begun to see it. Well, we have begun to see it, but we haven't really seen the other shoe drop on it. And so if we do nothing in regards to this specific issue alone, even forget all the other things that we're experiencing, is enough to spiral this country into a third world hellscape within our generation. That's the stakes that we're playing with here. It's not funny. It's not cute. This is no longer just a debate about how significant the role of government should be, which has traditionally kind of been the crux of the differences between Democrats and Republicans. We are literally talking about one side that is trying to spiral us, that is willing to spiral us into a third world hellscape with the motivation for permanently rigging the voting demographics as they see it anyway, or somebody that believes in sovereignty and the sovereignty of the nation. I mean, this is far beyond the typical left versus right uh, platitudes. So these things are totally antiquated when we're looking at issues of this significance of consequence. And people should never forget that this administration did that. And this is nothing short of treasonous, in my opinion.
Yeah, and quickly to piggyback on that. Hi, everyone. But I just wanted to bring up because I was interested in hearing UK Crypto Queen's insight on what's going on in the UK. But the immigration issue, like we are at the beginning stages of what Europe is already experiencing, right? You've got civil unrest happening in the streets, major protests. And so they're using this immigration narrative, either side, to create division among the people. And we're seeing what that's headed towards by looking just a little bit into the future and what's going on in the UK and throughout Europe. So, UK Crypto Queen, I would like to hear a little bit about uh, your perspective on what's going on over there. And it's just a little bit of a foreshadowing. I know it's a different demographic that's coming in through our border, but still some of the same people coming from the same countries that are in the UK are making their way through the border. We've got several issues among drug trafficking and other things that are entering through our border. And it's not a refugee situation. We know this because it's mostly men. It's all men coming across the border. It's all young men coming across the border. So again, the fact that Biden and Kamala are allowing this to happen, and the fact that it's been happening in Europe, now for years, it doesn't look like it's an accident. You know, it's very much by design.
Yeah, it is really interesting actually to see what is going on all across the world. I mean, it is very, very sad, the civil unrest that is taking place. Some of that has been in the city that I live in, like 10 minutes away from my home. I'm really pleased that my children are not actually in my hometown at the moment. They're actually staying away, which, you know, just is a real comfort to me. But I know that they have friends. And unfortunately, you're right. You're absolutely right. It is just the narrative that has been hijacked, and it is, you know, it is just to divide us. And yeah, you know, we did. The UK left the EU, which was very much an economic decision because there were no benefits to the UK being in the EU at the time. And it was already, you know, it was obvious that it had failed as an initiative. It had failed for us to be part of the European Union and be governed by, you know, the European Union. However, even at that time, that was hijacked by the, you know, because one of the policies around that was tighter border controls, and we are a very, very small island, and unfortunately, you know, this is what happens. It's now being taken back to the Brexit debate, and it's being kind of, you know, worked up into the civil unrest, and it's, you know, putting people against each other. I myself am a first generation immigrant to this country, and it's very sad to see, you know, business owners, you know, ethnic groups, business owners whose businesses are literally being targeted, and it is a very, very small number of people. But yeah, you're right. It is actually what is kind of happening globally, and it's a very sad state of affairs.
Yeah, well said. And I love that we have that global perspective because sometimes it's easy for us to put blinders on in the US. I don't know so much about what's going on internationally, to be honest. Again, I said libertarian. I like what's going on here, and that's okay. But it's good to have a different perspective and understand what's happening. So I did want to piggyback, Stephen. You said something really interesting to me that I had a question about. Before I dive into that, I definitely want to encourage everyone one more time, probably more times throughout this, but definitely retweet, reshare, post the room, get in the comments. We are absolutely blessed. We've got MAGA Memecoin today, and we've got Jake, who is ready and fired up to discuss a topic that is near and dear to his heart. You will not get this alpha anywhere else. Make sure you get it out there. MAGA Memecoin, the absolute pioneer in Politify, which is going to be a unfathomably, decabillion, centabillion, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a massive space leading into the 2024 election, which we'll get into. But if you're not bullish on it, I hope you will be after this conversation. So, Stephen, one of the things that I care most about, and I'm sure many people in here, look, we all like politics. That's why we're here, MAGA, Memecoin, etc. We like making the money. And so I'm going to really kind of drive into that idea of how do we, okay, we get this is all happening. I agree. Everyone up here, we're talking about it. Now, how do we make money on it? And I'm going to kind of lay out a bit of a case as to one of the reasons why I am extremely bullish on Politify and get your thoughts on this. So you said Kamala would really love to make this about abortion and Trump's character. And when I'm thinking about that from a strategy perspective, if I were advising a campaign, which I've done in the past, abortion and healthcare are big winners for the Democrats. The economy and immigration are big winners for the Republicans. But Trump is hitting on very recently, and you know, they've been supportive of crypto in the past, but I think that it really kicked off with Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville, this idea of cryptocurrency being an actual tangible topic that Trump can coalesce his base around and discuss. And it's something that the Democrats can't credibly do because they haven't been able to in the past. They've been against it. You've got Senator Warren, who is against it. You've got Gary Gensler, who get that guy out. It's not something they can win on. So I'll get to my question in a second, but I want to give some data here real quick. 2.1 billion posts, not like interactions, not engagement, 2.1 billion posts were made about the US election from September 1st, 2020 to November 30th, 2020. As those posts come out, Trump is very good at steering the conversation towards topics that are good for him. If those get steered towards cryptocurrency, you're going to see a massive inflow of people who are onboarded into the crypto world via politics. And what do you think they're going to find when they get onboarded by listening to their boy Trump talk? What are they going to look for? I mean, look, I love meme coins. I don't know that they're going to find Pepe. I think they're going to find the biggest MAGA meme coin project that has a charitable cause and that supports Donald Trump. That's where I think that they get onboarded to. So my question to you, Stephen, kind of giving that thought laid out and what my thesis, that's half my thesis. I'll get to my other thesis as to why I love Politify later. But half my thesis is the amount of money, $15 billion spent on the election in 2020, that's going to bring new customers into this space via politics is going to be absolutely massive. And I wanted to get your thoughts. Do you think that the Republicans can credibly make cryptocurrency a table stakes type discussion where they can win and onboard some of these people leading into the 2024 election?
I think they have to, and I think the Trump team understands that. Look, not only has Donald Trump completely 180 on crypto for the better and has had a full embrace of it and made it a prominent part of his platform, but he's gotten the RNC to make it an official part of their platform. I had the fortune of talking with many folks on directly on Trump's team at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville a few weeks ago, and the impression that I got from all of these people was, strap in because Trump's official camp, his their enthusiasm and seemingly new um, just unbridled loyalty towards this industry is beyond what even we can kind of comprehend right now. That is absolutely the impression that I got speaking with these individuals. I came away from these events just incredibly encouraged. And furthermore, we also had um, the honor of meeting President Trump at the Bitcoin conference as well, and I had a chance to have a short conversation with him, and it went something like this. I said, President Trump, we are part of a team of a very successful cryptocurrency project that has been inspired by you, and consequently, we've been able to raise now going on millions for veterans in need and to fight child trafficking. And his head jerked back, and he looked at me and he said, "That is so great. That is great." And I said, "Well, thanks very much." I said, "We're rooting for you uh, all the way to the White House." And then as I started walking away, he said, "Hey," and I turned around and he pointed at me and he said, "Keep going." So, I mean, what more do you want? What more do you want? He is very enthusiastic about this entire industry. He understands and grasps the what's on the table in terms of to the depths of which the Democrats have been attacking it, and to how beneficial of a role his administration uh, can and I believe will play going into 24, 25. So um, I, I walked away from these conversations even more bullish than I went in. And I'm incredibly encouraged not only by the trajectory of Donald Trump himself in regards to cryptocurrency, but all of the incredibly bright minds that are surrounding him right now are relating to
Yeah. Yeah, he has a lot. Stephen, first off, that's cool that you met Trump. Did you shake your hand and have you washed it since then?
it. Look, I will say this. I'm glad you brought that up because when I did shake his hand, um, you know how we heard from many of the Trump haters in the past that he has small, tiny hands? This was a more of like a real petty talking point from previous election cycles involving Trump. Um, Not only are his hands not tiny, they're very large, actually. They're bigger than the average man's hand. So this is silly, yeah, but at the same time, it was just another thing that dawned on me to just how egregiously people lie about the man, right? Because this was a really common thing, like, oh, a tiny hands
Yeah.
Don, and it's like, No, his hands are not only not tiny, they're like bigger than the average Jew's hands. They're very big hands.
Yeah, his hands are massive, and he gives like the craziest handshakes. I literally like if I'm bored at night, I'll like YouTube Donald Trump shaking hands with political leaders, and bro, he just power frames them, pulls them in, strong arms them. But that's what we need. We need a strong political figure. And remember when he was at the G7 summit and he, Germany and all these people are in front. He fucking gets right in front, puts his, brushes his suit down like a boss. Uh, that's what we need. And Donald Trump, like for me, man, there's a clip that my buddy used to send me where Donald Trump is just saying the word billions, billions and billions and it's like a 5 minute clip. And I used to crack up at that all the time. I'm a big Trump fan, if you didn't know. I also think he's just like a funny ass guy. Like I really do miss him here on Twitter. I used to log on before I was posting crypto content. I didn't even have a Twitter. I would just like Google Donald Trump's tweets and just see him. And boom, you log in. He's saying Kim Jong Un's button's big, but mine's bigger. Like just funny shit, man. He's really a comedian, and I know that Twitter misses him. But let's take the time. I don't know how much time we have left, but I want to get some updates on the MAGA meme coin. Like I said, I found this very very early. Like I know this project launched I think a year ago, but it didn't really pick up steam for like really pick up steam until January of 2024. And I remember I made my first video. I was like, I gave a lot of warnings, like, hey, this could go up, it could go down, but here it is, like good branding. It has the Trump ticker. But since then, like, the token has done so much, it's insane. So if you could give us some updates, just so I have some accurate numbers. I know that they had the partnerships with Roger Stone and Dom Lucre. I know you guys. The last time I made a video, you gave over 1.5 million back to veteran-owned and operated charities on massive exchanges. Just give us some updates regarding the project. I guess current updates regarding the Trump token, the MAGA meme coin.
Yeah, certainly. But before I do, Jake, I would like to just quickly read my favorite Donald Trump tweet of all time. And this was from back in 2011 on December 21st. Barney Frank looked disgusting, nipples protruding in his blue shirt before Congress. Very, very disrespectful. So I will say, guys, we never had disrespectful nipples when Trump was in the White House. But that being said, we've got to get Donald Trump back on X. I've been kind of barking in people that are a bit closer to him about how this just has to happen. We all want it. We all need it. And he's got more reach and support here than arguably anywhere else. So hopefully,
I think it would be good, but doesn't he have like some type of exclusivity deal with Truth Social?
look, he's got to work that out. In my opinion, it's worth the exchange of temporarily pissing off some true social investors. He's got to do it. The reach here is just bar none. And, the most engaged tweet in X tweet history was the last time he posted his on here, which was his mugshot. So, anyway,
I Yeah, I mean, and honestly, man, just in terms of like the election too, I mean, you still find his tweets. There's like a Donald Trump Truth Social account that like posts everything, but I mean, just even in terms of the election, man, it's like you're kind of like, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it, but me personally, I think he's limiting himself. He's on Instagram, I think he's on TikTok. But like, dude, you're missing out on hundreds of millions of people that support you too. They really support him too. So I don't know. I think that he does need to get that worked out with True Social for sure.
yeah, I completely agree. I think this is his biggest current strategic error in terms of his campaign. They've just got to do it. They've got to work it out. They've got to temporarily work out some sort of augmentation to that agreement with True Social and get him back on X, even if it's from nowish till November, right? I, we'd all love it and we'd all be there for it. And it would boost and amplify his messaging pretty significantly. Yeah. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
um,
So give us the updates. Obviously the top ones. I mean, exchanges. I mean, you guys took over. All time high was probably what, over 800 million. Just give us the updates. The floor is yours. Just to teach us a little bit about Maga Meme Coin.
Sure, sure. So Mega Meme Coin is approaching its 1 year anniversary. And for those of you who have a bit of seasoning in the space, knows that that is equivalent to like 20 years in the DeFi space. So the fact that we're coming on our 1 year anniversary, being this well established and having ourselves positioned where we are I think speaks very well of the project. Look, everything's down tremendously today. I don't need to beat that dead horse. I'm sure listeners are quite aware of that. But what's most important is that we look at where the project sits in within that context. So within that context, we're still a top 20, we're still in the top 20 meme coins in the world. We are still by far the number one polyfi project in the industry. We're still Donald Trump's number one crypto holding by far. None of these things have changed. So, along with this massive whether we see whether this can be a flash crash or something more significant, everything else has gone that way too. So the mission is still the same. I do think that we are most well positioned to hit billions upon billions, as you were saying earlier, more than anything else in the meme coin space. Also, when you look at our holder count, we just passed over 75,000 holders across the four chains that we are available on. And so holder count keeps exploding, keeps going up despite recent price action. And also, as you well know, Jake, the best charts to look at are ones when you see from its inception, one that tells a tale of two steps forward, one step back, two steps forward, one step back. And this, personally, all my strongest investments in the space have do tell that narrative when you look at a chart from its inception. So that's exactly the tale that MAGA Memecoin tells. And there's so many silver linings for us in this current crash. And one of them is so many meme coin projects will completely get destroyed and shaken out when something like this happens. And few do not. Few do not. And we have the infrastructure, the team, and the resources to weather things like this just fine. We're fine. Everything's still in place. We still have plenty of resources, and we will continue to have plenty of resources. Tier ones are just waking up. We are going live on Gate very soon now, and things are looking very favorable for many other tier ones. There's only so much I can say in that regard, but I'll just say things are looking very favorable for those exchanges to fall in line in the near future. And also, when we look at the cycle of these crashes in the past, so the Bitcoin COVID crash took about 40, a little less than 50 days to fully retrace all losses. And the FTX crash took approximately a little less than 70 days, as I recall. So we've got about 92 days till the election. So I do think that this will end up not only being what's happening right now, a tremendous catalyst in favor of Trump, but mega meme coin as well. So I think this is likely shaping up to be a really kind of perfect storm in terms of timing, and also in the event of a Trump reelection, which I think is looking more likely. This will provide 4 more years of hilarity and catalysts for the project. And we've seen so many holders. I mean, our holders really span from Zoomers to Boomers, literally. And this is the first crypto holding of so many of our holders. And the good thing about when you're attracting folks like that is those folks are holders, man. Those folks are very, very loyal. So that's also been very helpful establishing us for what we've accomplished and where I believe that we're going to continue to go. And I don't know, my enthusiasm has not wavered through this at all. Our dev is honestly like the best kind of person to lead up a meme coin project you could possibly ask for. He's done everything he said he was going to do since launching this project. We've ran this project in complete and total transparency, and we have all the receipts to back that up. And he's constantly expanding and recalibrating and not only listening to the community, but really down to take risks and innovation and new marketing strategies. We had a presence down at the RNC convention where we took a mega meme coin fans, like circular fans, where it had our logo, just our logo on one side and a QR code and a little text on the other side. I went down there with some promo girls and we were handing those out everywhere. And the response was fantastic. People were scanning this QR code in the streets. Crypto bros were literally buying mega meme coin bags in the streets. And then that night, at those last 2 nights of the convention, we saw numerous delegates and people attending the RNC convention waving mega meme coin fans in the air. This was on live television all across the world. So these are the sorts of, and we've also, as I mentioned before, we recently were able to meet President Trump and have a few words with him about the project, and which went really well. So we are in this for the long haul. I believe that we've set this up um, to really position ourselves to be a permanent mainstay legacy coin, culture coin, just like Pepe, Dogecoin, Sheeb, anything else like that. And the goal has always been for this project to not only be that, but to occupy the top five with frequency. And I think that we're really well positioned to do so. And this, like you said before, there's no better time to ape into your most high conviction plays. I've certainly been doing so, not only in Trump, but Dogecoin and Bitcoin as well. This is where opportunity comes when during moments of peak fear, obviously. So this is all part of the crazy journey that you have to go through to get those tasty gains. You're not going to get really tasty, life-changing, wife-changing gains without doing some white knuckling. We've been here before, and we've come out on top every time, and this is not going to be an exception.
I love it. Great updates. I do have one question because I'm actually curious how everybody phrases this, but because I'm still like undecided on how it will work. I do expect crypto to recover probably September, October, like strong recoveries. I do expect political finance tokens to go absolutely insane leading into the election. How does the MAGA meme coin survive after the 2024 election? What's the game plan to like stay relevant? I mean, I guess if Trump wins, it's pretty easy to stay relevant for 4 years, but what is the talking points? What is the game plan to stay relevant even after election season? Because a lot of people are expecting that to be a buy the rumor, sell the news event.
Sure. And we've already seen examples of this with the greater market, right? Where people really sold the news on Trump speaking at the Bitcoin convention. I mean, look, the way I see it is we will have the resources to continue this well beyond election day, and that's one of the benefits of having we have a 1-1 tax on the Ethereum chain. So you combine a modest taxation rate with a base team that runs things how a project should be ran, with transparency, ethically, and spending that capital back on the project in the best ways. So when you have that, that really opens up a lot of opportunity and a lot of channels that most projects don't, right? So, like I said previously, in the event of a Trump reelection, I do think that's going to be incredibly bullish long term for the project. In the event of a Trump loss, obviously that looks different, and how that shakes out remains to be seen. But I will say this: do you really think that the Trump movement's just going to die and go away in the event that happens? Trump represents kind of a rebellious populist movement, not only in the United States, but across the world. And Trump has enormous appeal all around the world in that regard. And he will always be a figure that is beloved and absolutely iconic in that way. So, in the event of a Trump loss, I would see the project more symbolizing people coalescing around this populist rebellion of the figure Trump, where people can express that rebellion on the blockchain in that regard, as it will continue to live on. So I do see this. I do see this going the distance post election. We've already gone the distance in terms of coming up on our 1 year anniversary and still on top, baby, within the respects of the sector that we are in. I've always said it from the beginning, Jake, that it's always been my intention as marketing and communications director of Mega Meme Coin for this to eventually rival the likes of Dogecoin and Shiba Inu in terms of size, popularity, and market cap, of course. I know that sounded ridiculous. It sounded even much more ridiculous to people when I was saying this when we were at a 10 million market cap. But it doesn't seem so improbable anymore when we've been occupying the top 20 meme coins for 9 or 10 months straight now. And as you well know, the projects that can really, weather themselves through market conditions such as this, um, and hold themselves at a pretty respectable holder count and market cap, and kind of accumulate for significant periods of time. Well, what we consider significant periods of time in this space are usually the ones that go on to do massive, massive, great things. So I do think that this is just the beginning for Mega Meme Coin. I think the entries here are absolutely ideal for people who been kind of sitting on the fence or waiting on the sidelines for something better. And obviously, our community members have been DCAing as well. But what people can count on with this project is a team that's always there. That team that's literally working 24/7, and I mean that quite literally, between us. In all sorts of ways that I could really extrapolate forever on.
Yeah, I mean that was a lot right there. A lot of good alpha in terms of where you've been, how you've gotten here, and all in the positive way. By the way, I have a few follow-up questions, but that was really well thought out, really thorough, and kind of what I'd like to hear. I said I did some prep work. I had some questions on the board that we were going into, and you kind of checked that list off. So a few comments, then I'll get to my question here. One of the things that I hear people often say in this space, and even when they come up here and talk when they're shilling a different project, is one of the things that people will say is, oh, it's got a tax. I'm not really a fan of taxes. Taxes are bearish. I don't like that. And then there's a charity component, which they also will sometimes say that's a bearish execution of a project. But I wanted to kind of give my thoughts on that and get your thoughts as well. One of the reasons why I actually think that a tax is not necessarily bearish is because if the money is raised in a way that's going to expand the market cap of the project and the longevity of the project overall, that's what's needed to keep the ball rolling forward. And in this space, showing up and surviving is a massive win. If you can just, they said they've been, MAGA meme coin's been around for a year and they have plans to stay post-election. That's what I want to hear about. I want to hear about the longevity of the project. I don't care if it costs me 1% tax, because if I know that the team is in there working, I know if we stay in the game long enough where we can get to. They're talking about competing with Doge. You don't compete with Doge by doing some shoestring budget with no ability, no strategy. So to me, that's overall bullish. And on the charity side, while I will agree that sometimes charity as an aspect of a project can be somewhat of a of a concern, in my work with in politics, Republicans and even libertarians and independents alike, they actually gravitate towards projects that have a charity component as long as it's the right type of charity. And veterans and child exploitation are two of the top triggers for donations from the Republicans and from libertarians and from independents. So I think that none of these things are giving me any cause for concern. And if anything, it's making me more and more bullish on the project. So the question that I had for you that you've talked about, you've got a very wide, you said Zoomers to boomers, which I agree. And I kind of opened this, conversation a few minutes ago, well, maybe 10, 15 minutes ago, with I believe that the election is going to drive a massive amount of engagement and eyeballs for cryptocurrency. What are your guys' plans to onboard, to capture that engagement's coming? And I'm sure you guys have been building up this infrastructure, this giant net to capture some of that engagement and interest in cryptocurrency. How are you guys going to convert that interest from someone who's interested in cryptocurrency to onboarding them as a customer of MAGA meme coin, regardless, boomer, zoomer, etc.? How are you going to convert them? Do you guys have like a KOL strategy lined up, leading into the election? Is there content that you guys have lined up? I see people posting content about how to buy. Sometimes that could be tricky. Someone comes into the space, they haven't bought before, they haven't used ETH, they haven't bridged anything. That can be confusing. Can you just give me some of your thoughts on how you guys are going to go from I'm a random person in West Virginia that just heard about a project that I really like to I've now been able to purchase the project.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Well, firstly, one of our team members, Jackie Dutton, I think she's listening right now. She is absolutely brilliant in terms of making super intuitive, user friendly tutorial videos for newbies into the space. And she's gone through the laborious project of making a tutorial video on how to purchase Mega Meme Coin in a number of ways, whether it's through the Phantom wallet or whether it's through the Coinbase wallet, whether it's through Solana blockchain, Ethereum blockchain, etc. So that is between that and then also having mods that are on our team to make sure everything is competently covered in the Telegram 24/7. They are also in with us on meetings on how to walk people, brand new people, through the process of this. And between these two things alone, it has been pretty effective. Particularly one of the videos teaches people how to purchase Mega Meme Coin on Solana through the Phantom wallet, which is arguably the simplest way if you really want to make it extra super simple for people. But also, I mean, let's be honest, um, part of the mass adoption process, not just with Mega Meme Coin, but with crypto in general, is the major exchanges. The major exchanges offer an extra security for people, and also usually a bit more of a, not on all of them, but usually a more of a user friendly experience for all. So that is obviously something that we've been aggressively pursuing behind the scenes in terms of the expanding to more of the tier ones, which again is looking very favorably. Uh, so I would say all those things together. I think the main thing is our entire team is very cognizant of our reach in that regard. Whether we're appealing to seasoned degens who have been in those trenches, or somebody that's just a Trump fan that's never bought a cryptocurrency before. We have the sort of team and the sort of professionalism to be able to handle high volumes of noobs just coming across the project, and I think we've been able to successfully bring those people in thus far. And obviously, I think a lot more that's going to happen the closer we get to November and beyond. But
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
I hope that answers your question sufficiently. And if I may just extrapolate on what you said earlier about a 1/1 tax. And I know some people think taxes are bearish. Well, it depends who's in charge. It depends who your team is. It can be bearish. It can be bearish if you got a shitty team, if you have an unethical team, but we don't, and we've already proven ourselves. We've been here for almost a year now, folks. I haven't sold one Trump token, by the way. I could have retired and gone up into the sunset, but this project is so much more about that. You know, that's one of the reasons why the dev and I get along so well, is because intentions are in the right place. I've always wanted to help spearhead a project that genuinely makes the meme coin space a better, more credible place for everybody. And there's no greater reflection of that, in my opinion, than a project like Mega Meme Coin. So this is, don't be wrong, we're all here for the great gains, and many people have been making incredible gains with this project, but it's not just about that for us. Check check our wallets. Like we're diamond handing this because we believe in what we're doing. We're very confident in the overall trajectory of where the project's headed, and we're going to continue to raise millions more for veterans and to fight child trafficking. By the way, one of our charity partners, the one that has to do with veterans, as a direct consequence of Mega Meme Coin, they've been able to grow out their organization from specializing in the homeless population, the homeless veterans population in Florida, and now are building a national resource center, a national for veterans. So they will not only be able to get help just with in the event of homelessness, but all resources that a veteran may need from coast to coast. So now we are talking about um, a veterans resource charity expanding from Florida to a national model as a direct consequence of this project. And this is ironically what Vitalik Buterin said he had in mind, what he would envision the meme coin space, like to envision the meme coin space to be. I say that if there is a certain level of ironicness there, if you're more familiar with perhaps what Vitalik's political persuasions are, which I think it makes it even more amusing, right? But and MAGA meme coin has arguably done more for veterans than our own Congress in this last year. So these are real life, tangible things that we're up to and will continually be working towards. This is only the beginning for a project like this, and for its holders, and also only the beginning of what we're going to be able to accomplish philanthropically.
Yeah, and I think one more comment on the tax. Again, every project can do what they want, but I would much rather hear we are going to generate money for the project to grow the pie for all of our holders versus our plan is hopefully people will donate to us at some point and we'll be able to do some market. That answer always gives me like hives because I cannot stand they're just going to out of the generosity of their hearts. Yeah, sure, if everything's going up, but what about right now? What about when there's a big market correction, and you have to survive until November and beyond? Is everyone going to be able to open up their wallets now? Because I think everyone's wallets are a lot lighter now than they were before when they maybe would have been more generous. So I trust me, I appreciate that answer. I see that Jackie did jump up here on stage. Jackie, welcome to the stage.
Hi guys. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I obviously Stephen and I have been working together on this, and I just really echo your sentiment on, just this 1% tax. Half of it is for marketing, and the other half is for the charity partners. And I can tell you, I've worked with tokens with no tax. I've worked with tokens with a tax, but had terrible volume. And this wins every time. It wins the marketing game. It wins without having to beg, borrow, and steal from your holders necessarily to try to actually make the token do something. And what people don't realize is that KOLs and press releases and article pictures with Trump and token listings on major exchanges, all of that costs money, and you cannot rely on your holders forever. You can't just keep relaunching tokens or adding NFTs and trying to borrow from people when the money exists within the volume. If you just allow from that tokenomics of the volume, you will always create at least a little bit of a cushion for yourself. So we've been very, very fortunate with this project. The volume has been, crazy at times for certain events. And it's just been really amazing to be able to make some really cool things happen that, I think what Stephen and I ultimately hope for is to really bridge this gap between the political people who are politically educated and the financial people who are financially educated within the DeFi space. And there isn't a lot of things that facilitate between the two, but we really want to be that bridge that helps kind of unite these two audiences that may be kind of closed off from each other.
Yeah, I know that Jake mentioned a partnership with Roger Stone, and I do remember actually hearing that space when I was back in the day, and I went back and listened to it somewhat. Would you guys mind just kind of dive? That's a pretty impressive. You got, like you said, some things cost money. Handshakes with Trump, picture. I'm all in on that, especially in the right hands. Here, you take my tax and boom, help me grow my project. I am a massive endorser of that, especially longevity. I do a lot of consultation for projects, and they'll come and they'll say, well, we don't have a tax. We don't have any money. We're just kind of hoping people will donate. I'm telling you, it's miserable. But point being, how did that come about? You guys were able to land really, big figures in the space. These are like common household names that if a normal person, again, we call them normies, of course, it's not derogatory. If a normie hears this project is partnering directly with Roger Stone and they hear them speaking on a space, that can move someone. How were you guys able to bring that about?
Yeah, so it's funny. You think that the political space is a really big, wide out space, but it's not. Everybody's actually very well connected, and it's an industry of networking essentially. So that 6 degrees of separation is much, much smaller when you get into the political world, particularly the conservative political world. So some of our holders are actually members at Mar-a-Lago, and they are close with these people. They, you know, they hang out with Roger Stone on a regular basis. They see the Trump family all the time. So they have actually helped facilitate these connections with us, and they have been invaluable in terms of helping us like really establish ourselves, and like you said, you know, set us aside in terms of legitimacy as, you know, connected with these people that are happy to endorse this project for us.
Yeah, and it wasn't. I mean, in any time you're trying to finalize something like that, from a figure with the likes of Roger Stone, there's a ton of back and forth. There's a ton of talks that you have to have with the legal team, particularly since Roger Stone is one of the FBI's most hated. So there is a ton of screening that goes on, a ton of back and forth with the legal team that goes on in that regard, because this is a man that has a is one of the in terms of in terms of the political realm, has one of the biggest targets on the back on his back from these three-letter agencies. And I remember doing a couple quick interviews with some more mainstream financial outlets when we first brought Roger Stone on, because it made a lot of headlines, and I could tell that with due from the line of questioning that I was receiving in regards to that, it was from what Donald Trump would more accurately describes as fake news, fake news outlets. They're trying to sculpt a predetermined narrative around our association with Roger Stone and MAGA Memecoin. And I remember telling one of the journalists this. He basically was asking me, why on earth would you bring somebody that's so controversial on board with the project? You know, what does that do for you? I said, that's the entire reason why you're reaching out to me right now. I said, of course, Roger Stone is a total firebrand. Of course, he's controversial. Of course, he talks a lot of smack. Uh, but he is also one of the chief political advisors to Donald Trump in 2016, and is accredited to helping make up his mind towards running for president. Of course, we want to be associated with somebody like this. Of course, we want to be associated with someone who's a lightning rod, because they dominate headlines. One thing that Roger Stone is really good at is dominating headlines and attention, just like Donald Trump. And if that means that his delivery is a bit uncouth or edgy at times, so be it. Like, why would we shy away from that?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, driving that engagement. And it's so my whole belief in this entire ecosystem is engagement drives market cap. That is again, I opened this with my thesis of why Politify is going to go absolutely bananas here leading into November. It's because there's going to be a ton of conversation, and it doesn't take many steps to go from I'm interested in the election, I like Donald Trump, to I'm buying a project like a MAGA meme coin. So, I think that when you're talking about a firebrand driving engagement, this is definitely a scenario where the more engagement that you drive, the better that it gets. Jake, obviously you never need to raise your hand, man. This is your world. We are living in it. What you got, buddy?
No, it's your space. It's your space. I'm a guest. I think one thing I also want to know too is, you guys started the whole airdrop meta to Trump to his public wallet. The first video I make, if we go back and watch it, it's somewhere on X and probably on YouTube. But the total amount that was airdropped to Donald Trump was like $50,000 when I covered the video. And Steven, can you speak about what the all time high was in his wallet? I think it was like 5 or 8 million. What did it come out to?
At the all time high, it was worth around 10 million.
There you go, dude. I remember every video I would show that because it was $50,000, and I was like, oh. In the first video, I was stoked too. I was like, they sent Trump $50,000. That's
Oh
nice.
no, Jake,
And then it came out to
originally it was only 7,500.
I know, I know. I'm saying
Oh.
for the first video I made, I made it like a 10 million, but I was like, oh, he's got 50K. And then it went to a million, 2 million, 3 million. I was like, oh my God. And you know that they see that. You know that the Trump team saw that. And they're like, holy shit, we just got airdropped. So I know Trump likes your token. And also, what was cool is he didn't sell it. Like he could have paper handed it and sold it. Obviously, he has a lot of fees going on. but I know that he likes your token. I know that the team is well aware of your token. And you also started a meta with airdropping Donald Trump, because after that, I mean, I saw like, 10 different tokens airdrop him, but nothing ever came close to MAGA meme coin, aka the Trump token. So yeah, you guys are trendsetters, man. That's why I was so happy to have this space when Soka reached out. I've connected with, I think he goes by the name the president, your guys' developer on Telegram, and he's a Chad. He's a Giga Chad. We've connected a lot since January here or there, just about videos and tweets. And yeah, man, he's run a fantastic project. I love too. I love the fact that you airdrop Trump, but I also love when tokens give back to charity. Bread on Base, I think all of you guys know that they just built a water well for a community in Africa that hasn't had clean drinking water for a decade. They were sharing the same waters as the cows, dirty water, getting sick, and Bread on Base went and built a water well, like physically went there and built it in Africa, which was beautiful. And you guys have given back millions of dollars to charity, which is great as well. So yeah, you guys have been crushing it on all fronts. And I mean, the entire political finance sector is taking a hit. For me personally, it's a good time to buy some of my higher conviction plays. I have like 2 or 3 right now, but with the election season coming up, uh, and Trump looking like he's going to win, I know if you turn on ABC and what do they call it? DNC. What do they call MSNBC? The DNC BC.
MSDNC.
There you go. MSDNC. Donald Trump Jr. Roasted them live on TV. That was funny. But if you look at the polls, you're kind of like unsure what's going on. But I don't know. It's going to be hard for Trump to be beat, in my personal opinion, especially if he takes that same approach he took at the RNC. He was very like poised, very postured. He wasn't attacking people. He was just like very professional and presidential. And I think it's going to be hard to beat him. So I know we got about 1 more minute. Soka, anything left on your end before we wrap it up?
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead, Steven. Go for it, Steven. Go answer, and then I'll ask my final question. Go.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank you, Jake, for having me, and Soka. This was really cool. I think this was a really fun talk and a productive one. And Jake, you've been covering the project for a substantial period of time, and we've just loved all your coverage of the project. And I think it's been very astute and accurate coverage. If anybody wants to know more, it's megamemecoin.com. It's Mega Meme Coin on X here. So feel free to look those up and get dialed in with our community, even if you just want to snoop around and kind of feel it out. Again, we've been working literally 24/7 for almost a year straight, and we're not slowing down. Things are just warming up here, and we're going the distance, and I think we're going to continue to accomplish unprecedented things.
Amazing. Yeah, and actually I'll save my question because I hope my tease will help bring you guys back at some point here in the near future as we lead into November 2024, because we really are on this space, growing and carving out a massive support for Politify. And obviously it makes sense to support the biggest, baddest boys on the block and girls. Hello, Jackie. Welcome, of course, to the stage. Biggest men and women on the block as it comes to Politify, because this is, I think it's a perfect storm. Look, I would, not financial advice, but a massive correction leading into one of the biggest catalyst events in recent memory for a project that's going to get a ton of engagement. And for me, that's an amazing entry because Politify, the main name of the game, is situating yourself for November. And the project's been around for a year. They have connections. You heard it. They have money. They're in conversations with big tier ones. They have a strategy. And to me, look, the upside is just all over the place. It's dripping with upside. So that's something that has me very excited. UK Crypto Queen, I know that we did not have much of a conversation like we maybe normally would have, but I really wanted to give, Steven and Jackie an opportunity to kind of describe their journey because, again, the biggest, baddest people on the block. So I just wanted to hear and soak it all in. But that's all that I had. I was going to let UK Crypto Queen give kind of some of her closing thoughts, and then we'll hand it off to Jake to shut this bad boy down. UK Crypto Queen.
No, absolutely no need at all to apologise. It's been a really, really interesting space, and I just wanted to thank Jake, Soka, yourself, Steve, and Jackie. Great to hear your perspectives, Kid, as always. So yeah, this has been a great space. I look forward to the next one. Thank you so much.
Yep. And Jackie, anything on your end? I just give you a follow back as well. Anything on your end before we close it out?
No, just go ahead and join our spaces tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And if you guys are looking forward to the debate debauchery, we definitely have some entertaining things coming up. So make sure you follow the account for all of that news.
Amazing. And Donald Trump's actually live with Aiden Ross right now. I'm gonna go over and watch some of that. I think I just saw a clip. I'm gonna repost it, but he just walked out to Many Men by 50 Cent. The guy's a fucking legend. Okay, he's a
Let's
legend. So
go.
shout out to Steven, shout out to Jackie, shout out to MAGA Memecoin. Like I said, I've been lucky enough to follow your guys' progress and success since the beginning. And you literally started a new sector in cryptocurrency, which I mean, I can't even tell you the last time a token did that. So keep crushing it. We appreciate it. And we'll be covering you here on this channel. Shout out to UK Crypto Queen. Shout out to Soka. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow at 12 p.m. with another stream with UK Crypto Queen and Soka. Thanks, everybody.